access to receive messages of clarity, guidance, and love. As channeler, psychotherapist, and author, Noemi Grace has an intimate dialogue with the divine on your behalf. Lisa Berry, creator of the show Light on Living, will be co-hosting as live callers ask their burning question on self-love, self-healing, deepening relationships, areas of struggle, and next steps. By simply listening in, you're receiving wisdom that will lead to sacred stability from every channeled message that Noemi delivers. Join us now as we give you access to angels and grace. Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Good all those things. Good day. Hello, Noemi.
Hello, Lisa. Can you hear me? Because I was having earbud issues earlier. So, yes.
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, good. We're all here. All here, all now. That was sort of a mantra I got this morning. All here.
Oh.
All now. So, it's like all of me is here and all of me is now. So, at least that is the desire, the intention. So and welcome everyone.
Something we can't help but do. We just don't know it. That we're always present, like we're always in the now.
Well, we're not necessarily present to the now, but we're present somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. We're always in the now. We just don't know it. Well, speaking of not knowing things, my goodness, this wonderful, beautiful, helpful Living Beyond the Wound series, it's an ongoing series. I love this because you just don't. I could not have imagined all the things that we're learning how to and when and which way. It's just unfolding and unfolding.
Yeah. There's so much newness here. There's so much wisdom that when you hear it, sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And sometimes it's like, huh. You know, the flashlight behind all the boxes being, like, oh, that makes sense, but never thought that way before. So, and that's an image from a previous show. But yeah, and you and I are participants here and receiving our own set of experiences that seem to match living beyond the wounds and moving beyond the wounds.
Yeah, so we're going to be thankful for the wounds. And today's actually came from, and we'll invite everybody to do the same, we received comments and questions. And so what Noemi and myself do is kind of read through them and think, well, what is the theme that's showing up here? And then we set like a story around it and thinking we have a general direction. And so what I'd like to do right now is read what today is really about and have you guys get an image, and then if something comes up and shows up for you, you know what, Noemi, you'll be certainly channeling and getting the vibration, and I'll be doing my style of that too and asking some more questions. And a little later after the first break, Noemi goes in and channels and brings us some divine messages and help. So, Noemi, I will read the show description, let everybody know that they're in the right place if this is speaking to them. There you go. Mm-hmm. So, Living Beyond the Wound series. It grew darker as the light of hope grew dimmer. She wasn't prepared to be in the dark without a flicker of compassion or spark of forgiveness. The wound and she would soon be alone. Even scarier for her was that she would be lost in the abyss with no direction to healing. She would need to start using her heart to find the way. She shouted for help by yelling accusations and blaming others, hoping the wound would take pity and heal. She tried yelling at the wound by defending her own limitations of not owning her power. She gave one last mighty effort to distance herself from the wound by stubbornness and denial and demanding answers and resolution. The wound grew bigger, became more agitated, and held on stronger, needing more attention. But her ways did not work until she found relief by offering the wound her attention through the eyes of love. May compassion be your compass that directs you to your power. May forgiveness be your flashlight to see your own resolution. And may love be your upliftment above the low frequencies of blame. And that's what we are here to talk about today, Noemi.
And I just love, Lisa wrote that, and I just love, that to me felt like a channel message about compassion and forgiveness. and love. And that is so beautiful. Yes, post that on social media. That last paragraph, it's so powerful. And between that and some of the comments and connections we've been having with listeners is where we're going to start the show today. And of course, it will lead us where it leads us. And it's not all mapped out at all, because I have no idea what the divine will say. And I don't even know what questions Lisa's going to pose. So sometimes Lisa doesn't know what questions she's going to pose. So it's all not mapped out. It's all in the moment. And it's a gift.
It is. But I know that the two things that really were like aching in our hearts, and I think that's sometimes a gauge where something is aching, or you just so badly want to reach out and hug somebody. It's then we know to kind of go there. And the two things were lost, feeling so lost, and no resolution. And I do think that you have something beautiful to share with us that you've already channeled, Noemi, and then we'll just keep those kind of in mind.
Yeah. Before I go there, I just want to say something, because I'm a U.S. citizen, born here and raised and lived for many years. And, seeing what's playing out here, there's a collective wounding and there's individual wounding that's all showing up. And there's a bunch of people rejoicing and dancing in the streets, and a bunch of people feeling betrayed and angry, and it's the mirror image of what happened 4 years ago. And so, can we, all of us, learn to acknowledge the wound in ourselves and others, and bring forgiveness, bring compassion for the other side, rather than going, well, how could they have voted for that person anyway? Or whatever it is, to recognize that there was some level of importance, something that was valued by each person in this election that had the most votes ever, which also was a traumatic event for so many people, that there was something of value to each person, and to have compassion for wherever they are, especially if they differ from you. So in a lot of the communities I'm in, there are a lot of people that are rejoicing, and there are some that are sad, and it's really bridging that gap. One of my clients said something so beautiful recently. She said, I feel like it's our place, it's our job, it's what we're here for is to meet each other on the bridge of neutrality. And I thought that was so beautiful, the bridge of neutrality. And so can we embrace our own woundedness and the other's woundedness, and not feel like, oh, our wounds are gone now if we are happy with the result, or feel more wounded if we're not? Can we recognize that this, no matter where you stand and where you sit with this, that it's an opportunity for us to acknowledge our wounds, but not only our own wounds, other people's wounds, and not take them personally, and not say hurtful things.
Yes. I love, first of all, bridge of neutrality. Oh, that's just, I love that. And I love that there was a spot. There's a specific spot where we might meet on the bridge of neutrality.
Yes, I love that too.
But the recognizing that there was value, I'm particularly really drawn to that, because sometimes we can't always go as far as to say, well, there's an opportunity in this. You're like, I'm not far enough along the bridge there. But I at least can step in value.
Well, and wanting to not go on the bridge. I'll stay on my side, but, right. I mean, the universe has afforded us an opportunity, because most people are on one side or the other, and some people are like, they don't like either person, or they don't care, but most people are actually pretty well ensconced in one side or the other. And so the universe has given us the opportunity this time to go someplace where we didn't go last time, to embrace each other, to embrace those who were feeling so betrayed and to recognize that woundedness. And so, that's not what we planned for the show, but I just felt the need to, not the need, but I felt the desire to share about how important it is that our woundedness is playing out on this big scale. And the actions of the actors are so wounded in so many ways, and yet our own wounds are getting triggered. And can we recognize and have compassion for those and for the wounds of the others that may be seeing things differently, maybe placing value on something different?
Go someplace we didn't go last time was absolutely perfect, because that's when we call it lost, but we're not lost. We're just somewhere where we haven't yet gone. Like, if we think about that, when have you ever said, oh, I'm lost? Or, you're driving around like, oops, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. So if we change the wording even in that perception, it's that, well, I'm not exactly lost. I'm just somewhere where I've never been before.
and probably somewhere where I didn't plan to go. I didn't plan to be here. I don't know how I got here, but here I am.
Right.
And so what's the gift here?
And different levels of healing can be achieved on different places. Because if you go to the same place you've always gone before, you will reach and attain that same level of healing as you always have. So this is, I'm loving that. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yes. So with that,
yes.
I'll bridge into the reading, which is about compassion, forgiveness, resolution, and so forth. Good stuff. Compassion is a gateway, a door into the heavenly realm of forgiveness. In forgiveness is freedom. In forgiveness is resolution. In forgiveness is kindness for self and others. In forgiveness, you discover the key that will set you free. To hang on to the pains inflicted by others or even yourself is to cut yourself off from the freedom offered to you by healing the wounds. To embrace compassion is to free yourself through the power of forgiveness. To hang on to the wounds is to make yourself a prisoner of them. It is to put yourself behind the bars of a self-imposed prison and throw away the key. Why hang on to imprisonment when you can choose to be free? Not only of the prison, but also of the wound. To hang on to the wound is to get stuck there and to allow it to fester within you. There is no resolution within woundedness. Full resolution in the form of healing, upliftment, and personal freedom is available to you in choosing to let go, which is much easier when you embrace compassion and live in the power of forgiveness. In forgiveness is great power to free you. Forgiveness actually directs freedom to you. Forgiveness directs freedom to you both when you forgive yourself and when you forgive another. Forgiveness liberates you from the jail cell. It dissolves the walls of your prison and opens you up in many ways to healing, to love, to kindness, even to new opportunities. Resolution does not live in resistance. It lives in forgiveness. Do not expect resolution before forgiveness. Forgiveness brings with it resolution, freeing you to be yourself anew, to be more of you and less of the wound, which is then gently integrated within you. Forgive as if your life depended on it, because in a sense it does. Without forgiveness, you become deadened. You die a little more every day from the wound, which becomes like a toxin seeping slowly into your life force and robbing you of peace and even of your essence. Forgiveness paves the way to freedom. And if you can't forgive and don't know how, ask us. We are always here to help you in great compassion and love and freedom. We are complete. Namaste.
Ooh, that was very powerful. Very, very powerful. Do not expect resolution before forgiveness. I think a lot of us do.
Exactly. I can forgive when,
Yes.
if I feel better, I will forgive. Or, when they say this or I get that, I just need this one thing and then I could forgive, I had an experience, a while ago, and I know we're heading off to commercial, so I'll be quick, but I had an experience a while ago where a long-term close friend started to ghost me, and I was really shocked that this would happen, and she would not respond and stuff, and I just needed to hear what was the issue. Did I say something wrong? Did I do something offensive? And I never heard it, and I had to go into resolution, and I had to forgive whatever it was, and I had to forgive myself for whatever I might have done that I didn't even know I did, and forgive her for not feeling comfortable enough to talk to me. And so in that, I found peace, and this was somebody who was very important to me, and I was able to find peace. And so that was a recent experience.
I thank you so much for, actually, I love that you ran through those steps, because we are going to go through those steps. But when we do come back, everybody, let's walk through the pace of forgiveness as we continue on the series. What is the series? Living Beyond the Wounds. I was so happy I forgot. All right, guys.
No, I'm so happy that you forgot. That's very cute.
There you go. Oh, we'll see you guys in just a moment. Noemi and Lisa.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The universe is eager to help you and give you clarity. You only need to be willing to ask your burning question and listen to the answer Source wants you to have. As a channeler of divine messages, I take your questions directly to the divine and hear what Source is longing to tell you. I'm Noemi Grace, and my co-host Lisa Berry and I welcome you to join us as a listener or caller on Access to Angels and Grace, 2 Wednesdays a month. Call in, ask your most burning questions, hear the divine's exact words giving you guidance and clarity. Access to Angels and Grace, where messages of joy await you.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week, I'll have exciting guests, and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's the Stream of David Live right here on OMTimes Radio.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
All right, and we are quickly rushing here because we had a fun conversation on the commercial break about geese, which Noemi is trying to find.
Oh, I don't know. It's pretty interesting here.
Yes, got lots of going on. Well, welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Access to Angels and Grace, and we are here at a new time. It is 11 a.m. Eastern, and we just shifted. We're an hour earlier than we have been in the previous. So if you're new to listening, we will be remaining at this time, 11 a.m. Eastern, every second and fourth Monday of the month. And we are continuing on our way here with Living Beyond the Wound series. And there is so much to do with wounds, but we are really talking a lot about, well, forgiveness, but why forgiveness? Why do we go there? What is it? Why do we sometimes resist forgiveness, and why do we need it? Why do we not know how? And today we're really talking about being lost and not having resolution. And Noemi, just before we went to break, you shared, quickly a story, which I think we've all had to go through at some time, like not understanding what happened, what went wrong, and we want that other person just to give us something like, why, what, no, you say sorry, or something. And you kind of walked me through, and I felt like there's a pace of forgiveness. There's a speed of which we're able to move from the beginning of forgiveness through to the end. And that's where I kind of wanted to go with you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's an individual pace. There isn't like, to me, I've always understood forgiveness as like peeling the onion, right? Sometimes you can forgive whatever. Somebody runs late and they didn't message you, you can forgive. Back in the days when we could go hang out with people in restaurants and things. So some things are just so easy to forgive all at once, but the bigger wounds are layered, they're complex, they have lots of parts to them, and so sometimes we can forgive one part but not another, and we start to peel the onion. And so I like the pace of forgiveness because it is an individual pace, and we have to honor that pace, and if we're not ready to forgive, and sometimes I'll be working as a psychotherapist with clients and they say, I'm not ready to forgive. And, one of the things we talk about is that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, because in forgiveness, you, like in that reading, you release yourself, you free yourself from hanging on to what was going on, hanging on to the past, hanging on to the pain, hanging on to the wound. And so, it is, I say to them then, what can you forgive? What can you let go of? What is it that you can let go of right now? And let's start with that.
I have got an interesting way to really deepen this one. This is a good one. Not only myself has been accused of this, but we've all heard this before when somebody's been said, "Oh, you're so quick to forgive." You know what? They're judging your pace of forgiveness. And in my world, I have to think, because I'm so selfish and have so much self-love, I'm like, no, I forgive you. I'm not going through this pain for you. Nope, you're good. I'm good. but really, what it is I remember my mother always saying, "You're always too quick to forgive. They owe you an apology." They owe you an apology. And I was like, ooh, yuck. I don't want to walk around thinking somebody owes me all this stuff. I walk around, I'm owed this and I'm owed that. No, this is why I really, that was a question I was going to ask you to channel, actually. Wes, how do we know when it is too quick to forgive and there was not healing, or we truly have just complete forgiveness? We don't want to be owed. We don't owe the wound. The speed of forgiveness and the level of healing, the degree of the healing, the level of healing.
Speed of forgiveness. I'm writing this down.
Oh, yeah, and because say we take a long time. Well, gosh, I've had this family feud for 20 years. I haven't talked to my sibling in all this time. And does that mean the wound is any deeper or bigger, or is it just hanging around, kind of just showing it's like, oh nope, still here, just a little scratch, just the level of the wound.
If you haven't talked to your family member for 20 years, there could be multiple things going on. You might be carrying a lot of resentment, or you may have actually forgiven and freed yourself, but said this person is unhealthy for me, and I'm therefore not going to talk to them. So you might, in the process of forgiveness, actually choose to prune somebody out of your life.
Yes. So there's the difference between resentment and resolution. But okay, well,
resentment and resolution. Pretty different experiences, So
yes. Let's go with the speed of forgiveness. And if we are quick to forgive, does that inhibit or prevent an actual layer of healing to be done, or is it possible that speed?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're saying, can we be too quick to extend that olive branch, too quick to offer forgiveness to the point where we don't go deep, we just stay at the surface? Oh, I forgive you.
Right.
Like that?
Yes. Oh, yes. Or is there even, maybe that's fine. Yes. This is why we ask these questions, because I don't know.
Well, yeah, I just like to understand your question, even though the
Yes.
answer's not coming from me, but
Yes.
I will understand. So
Yeah.
the natural curiosity. So, yeah. And then also in terms of, if not this one, let's bring in the non-resolution piece. If not in this channel message, but then after the next commercial, I definitely would like to, because we put that in our description.
Yes. Yes.
So we can channel this, and I'll channel that and see what the divine has to say. But sort of you can formulate your question perhaps for the second. On the second break, second commercial for that second piece about the resolution. How do we move past when there is no resolution? Specifically, too, because this was coming from listeners, so I want to make sure to be of service to their needs as well. So, okay, so I'm going to start with a swig of water because I always feel my throat is dry for some reason when I'm about to channel.
It's a lot of air. They're airy spirits.
And lots of air. Well, air is spirit, pneuma. And then for those of you who are maybe listening for the first time, what I do here is I get a little silent to deepen the connection with the divine. The connection's already here, but I'm deepening it. I'm getting more present. Like I said at the beginning, all here, all now. I'm getting more here now. And then I will greet the divine, and a couple seconds later, they'll start speaking. Hello, divine. I heard you say we're here, Noemi Grace, so I'm here too. And Lisa had posed a beautiful question about speed of forgiveness, level of healing. So just asking for you to help us with this and whatever else you feel is important for us. We are grateful for this question because so much forgiveness is needed. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. Unforgiveness is rampant in your world now, and it is rampant in your lives, and it is costing you dearly. And so there is no one pace that is correct. There is no one right way. There is no way that is the appropriate way for all. All can be forgiven. There is nothing that cannot be forgiven. And we say this because if you do not forgive, it damages you. It hurts you. And therefore, the most unforgivable things can be forgiven, need to be forgiven, not to validate the other person, not to vindicate them or to in any way acknowledge and say to them that it was okay, because that is not what forgiveness is about. No one is owing anybody an apology or anything like that. Forgiveness is freedom for you. Wouldn't you want to free yourself? Do you recognize when you are unfree because you're hanging on to the wound? You're hanging on to the pain. If you hang on to the wound, you hang on to the pain. You cannot separate the pain from the wound. You cannot sever the pain from the wound. If the wound is there, there is pain. And so for you, the gift, each one of you, is to free yourself from the wound through forgiveness. And the wound is with you. It is not with the person who wounded you if we are speaking of another person. Although there are so many self-inflicted wounds that you all do in your harsh self-talk, in the way you treat yourself, in the way you look at yourself, in the thoughts you think about yourself. Wounded, 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 wounding, wounding, wounding. Stop the self-wounding and you will free yourself so much. Stop the wounding that you are carrying from others, and between the two is full freedom. And so there is no pace that is correct, but what we say to you is recognize start to look at, what is this wound costing me? Where is this wound costing me in my life? Where is this wound robbing me of my joy, my life force, my peace, my ability to move on or to be as I was prior to the wound? Can you return to the person you were prior to the wound? Can you return to what has been robbed from you by the wound? And so the wound is there as a reminder, constant reminder. If you burn yourself physically or cut yourself or have some very visible wound on your body, it is there as a reminder of, oh, I touched that hot pot, or oh, why wasn't I careful with the knife? Or oh, all these thoughts that you think. The wound is there as the reminder of what occurred that caused the wound. And so freeing yourself is allowing yourself to let go, being willing to let go of that wound, to say to the wound, I no longer need to be carrying you with me. I no longer need you by my side every moment of the day. I no longer need to be one with you, united with the wound. You have served me, and you have done what you have done to remind me that I have been hurt. But now I want freedom. I no longer want to be hurt. I am willing to let go of you now. And of course, if it's a physical wound and you say that to it, it's still going to take its time. The physical wound takes its time, so the emotional wound takes, the mental wound, the spiritual wound, those all take their time. You cannot rapidly accelerate the physical healing. You can accelerate with some salves. You can protect it from getting infected and so forth. You can help it not to slow down, not to get worse. But you cannot change the pace. The pace is what it is, but you can slow it down. And so, if you can be aware of yourself and how much it is costing you, what is it causing you? What is it costing you to hang on to this? What is it costing you in your life to hang on? What is this bringing into your life that you do not desire? And how is it serving you to this constant reminder of the past pain? How is it serving you today? If you cannot find a positive service, then let it go. And we know that just by saying let it go, that it doesn't let go all the time, always, because of the pace of healing, as we said, with the physical wound. With the physical wound, there is time that it takes. Time, there is a saying that time heals all wounds, and while that is partially correct, it is up to you to heal all wounds. And by not hanging on to them and asking for our help if you can't let go, if the wound feels too deep, if you have become intertwined with this wound and lost yourself in this wound and lost your identity, and the wound has become part of you, ask for help from the divine, from us, your source, and ask for help from other humans who you know have the power and the skills to help you, and the love and compassion for you. With great love, you can heal every wound. And we bring you back to self-love and the importance of self-love. And if you do not love yourself, it is hard to let go of the wound. Non-love keeps the wound stuck to you. Self-love frees you from the wound. And there is so much grace that is available to you in love. Ask us for our love and learn to love yourself with our love, and you will free yourself from the wound. And in that freedom, you will be restored to the fullness of who you are and what you have not even known yourself to be yet. So much is available to you. We are grateful for this question. With much more to say, we are complete. Namaste.
There was very helpful guidance and clarity and questions in that one. Noemi, I don't know if you remember saying this, but the one that they piggyback on each other, but what is the wound costing you? And if you cannot find a positive service, let it go. I love that.
Yeah. I think there was a costing you and causing you. Yeah. Something like, what is it?
Yes.
Causing and costing. I was like, I was hearing both of those words and I was like,
I love the costing because about if you feel you're owed something, so that kind of like that banking system, the banking system of the wound. But there you go.
Well, it's costing you by whatever you feel you're owed because you're not getting it, but it's also costing you maybe, there was a painful breakup and now you're not going to open your heart again. So it's costing you the potential joy you could experience. I mean, so there's a lot of costs.
Yes, and one more just before we sneak away to a commercial there is, I love this statement. Thank you, if you're talking to the wound, thank you for the reminder. I'm now ready for freedom. And I thought that was just a beautiful thing to say. Like that's almost a ho'oponopono, right? Thank you for the reminder.
Yes.
I'm now ready for freedom. Well, we shall sneak away to commercials, but when we come back, we still have one more channeled message, at least, and that will be about how to move past when you just don't have that resolution that you feel you want, that you need. So come on back after the break to Access to Angels and Grace with Noemi Grace and Lisa Berry.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
All right, so Noemi, we've got
Yes.
some listeners. We've got some listeners who are literally, they don't have a compass, they don't have a flashlight, and they're stuck in the pit of blame and wanting resolution. and this, yeah, isn't that horrible?
I am actually going to disagree with you on that. I am going to say they have a compass and they have a flashlight, but they're not turned on. They're not
accessible.
necessarily aware. Yes, they're not accessible.
I can't reach them. They're
Remember the flashlight behind the boxes?
Yes.
In that metaphor. So yeah, I mean, we all do have everything we need inside of us. It's getting to that well source, that wellspring inside of us, getting there is so important.
Yes.
And
can we just
connects.
can we share what Define resolution. What are people hoping when we say that? You know what? I just don't have any resolution. What if we use other words? What would those words be? That somebody's saying, I don't have closure.
Well, to me, yes, closure seems to be close to resolution. I think in resolution we want, I hate to use the word to define itself, but in resolution you want something resolved. You want, there's like, okay, like this election, in the U.S., resolution to legal claims or different things. There has to be, people are looking for certain outcomes. So, right. So if it's unresolved, if a court case gets resolved, then there's been some judgment handed down at the end or what, or something like that. So there's some kind of outcome, I think, expected. And with closure, you close the door on something and maybe that outcome hasn't happened.
Yes, I feel a lot of moving on. Like at closure, I close the door, I can move on. And outcome means, oh wow, I can take the next step. So about moving on. So really when we are feeling we don't have that resolution, that's a stuck feeling. That's a stuck feeling for sure. And so I know that when we had this question written into us, they're saying like, I'm feeling stuck. What do I do here? I don't have the key. I'm just lost. I'm in the abyss. And what if I never get it? How do I get it? So I think that would be the most beautiful place and helpful if we could have you channel that message.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah. I do recall, an eloquent communication that said the abyss doesn't come with a rope and flashlight. What do you do?
Yes.
So, and I thought that was so eloquent because, who hasn't been in the abyss? We've all been there. And it's not a pretty place to be. And it's very lonely down there. Feels very isolated.
Yes.
And so, how can we free ourselves from that? If there is no rope and flashlight, right, that we are aware of, how do we get out? And that sounds to me as a great question. And I don't know if they'll go back to what they mentioned before. I was actually wanted to comment on the last channel message. Oh. They went into self-love at the end, and I was like, oh, interesting, because the first book that I wrote, An Intimate Dialogue with God, The Miraculous Power of Unconditional Self-Love, was all about self-love. And so sometimes they remind me about that. I'm like, oh yeah, self-love. Conversation about that.
The whole book that I wrote and spent months writing.
This whole book. All these channeled messages about self-love. And so I don't know if they're going to go back there because I never know where they're going. But fortunately they do. But I'm wondering if that fits in as well. So maybe also, stuck, how to get unstuck and resolution, closure.
I felt the question there added into there is yes, if we're hanging on to the need for resolution and just can't quite get there, is it due to a lack of acknowledging of self-love, of feeling self-love? Yes.
Or what is causing that? What is causing us to hang on, and what do we need to let go? Because sometimes we feel like we can't let go of this. If I let go of this, I'm in some way
losing, still.
Approving or giving some kind of power to the other person, or
like you said, validating the other behavior.
Yeah. Yes, validating their behavior, and so or sometimes something becomes so hugely a part of us that to let go of it, it's not us, but it's something that has consumed us, occupied us, and so it becomes very difficult to let go of it, So how do we do that when we feel like? How do we let go when we feel like we can't let go?
There you go.
That sounds good. We can go in We feel we can't. Okay. Get that swig of water. Go in. Give the divine plenty of time. Because this seems like a very important question to me. Because we've all been there. I know I've been there. I have definitely been there. I can't let go of this. How can I? It hurts too much. Or I can't. It's just too painful. This person did something to me. I can't let go. So we will see and listen to the divine. So give me a moment. All here, all now, even more present. I discover new levels of being present. It's really amazing. Hello, divine. Once again, they said we are here, Noemi Grace. I've not heard that before today. I usually wait for a certain sensation or sometimes I'm hearing the beginning of the channeled message building up. And so now I have no idea where we're going, but I'm being guided by the divine, and that gives me great confidence. So divine, I have no idea what you're going to say, but here we are. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be of service in this way and to receive you in this way. And so how can we help ourselves when we can't let go? We are very present with you and present with this question. It is very relevant to the present moment of your lives, all of your lives. You are all hanging on to much that does not serve. And there is much that can be gained by letting go. And yet, you think and you consider what is to be gained by hanging on, what you must need, what you think you need. You think you need something in order to let go. You think you cannot let go until that something arrives, until perhaps another person delivers that something, gives you that something that you are waiting for, that you are expecting, that you are needing. And we understand how important this is for so many of you to receive what you feel and think and are convinced that you know that you need. And yet, there's so much. We have grace, and we're gifting you with grace. And this grace is our love and action, compassion, and transformation in your life. It will transform your life. And so, in hanging on, you are hindering this flow of grace to you. You are hindering the flow of our love and our transformation and our compassion to your life. And so we understand that so much has happened to so many of you that feels undeserving, that feels that you don't deserve it, that feels inappropriate, that feels unforgivable, that feels unforgettable. And yet, if you do not forget and you do not forgive, you are now hindering your life. You are putting a big damper on your life. And so, how to let go when you do not know how? First, you must be willing to let go. First, you must decide to let go. You must choose. I choose to surrender my resistance to this. Choose to surrender your resistance. Choose to give it up. So you may not know how to give up the wound, but give up the resistance that is keeping you fully and firmly grounded in the wound, attached to the wound. I surrender my resistance to this. Surrender your resistance. We will receive it with open arms. And instead, we will gift you grace. We will exchange. We will do an exchange with you. Give up the resistance, and we give you grace. That is our exchange. And in this grace is such transformation power. And in this grace is such love, so much compassion for you, so much healing is available. And so surrender the resistance. Give up the resistance. Give up the resistance to letting it go. That is the first step. You have resistance. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it first. Okay, there's resistance. I'm feeling resistant to this. I'm resistant to letting this go. I need this. I need this before I can let it go. Acknowledge it. And then move into letting go by surrendering the resistance. When there is no resistance, there is no friction. You are free to travel forward in a new way before that you have not been, in a new way that you have not gone this way before, on a new path that you have not been on before. What you were holding on to is holding you back from this path unfolding before you. And it may be a great wound and a great suffering that is accompanying that wound. Surrender the suffering too. Hand it over to us. I'm tired of this suffering. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to let it go. I don't know how to stop it, but I give it to you. Surrender the suffering. Surrender the resistance. Surrender the suffering. Let go of these things. So start to let go of the pain of this wound, the painful effects of the wound in your life, and let go of what is entrenching it and keeping it in place. The wound is being kept in place through the resistance and the suffering that you are experiencing, sometimes daily, sometimes every moment, from this wound that feels too big to let go. Start to surrender what is around the wound, what is keeping the wound in place. So the wound is wedged in place, and it is grounded in place. It's got poles like a tent that when you pitch a tent and you have the poles that you plant into the earth, you have those kind of things with your wounds, and they are grounding you, they are rooting you into this wound. And start to surrender those poles. Pole of resistance, the pole of suffering, the pole of mental torment and anguish, emotional anguish and mental torment. Let that go. Say, I don't want this anymore. Give it to us. Offer it to us. I don't want this anymore. It doesn't serve me. It's keeping me from where I want to be. It's keeping me from me, because the wound does keep you from you. Some people have had the unfortunate experience, the misfortune of having a burn that doesn't heal all the way. And if there's a burn, say on the face, and when they look in the mirror, what they see is the burn. All they see is the burn, and they start to identify as a burn victim, as a survivor of the burn, and everything is around this burn. And this is how they see themselves, as someone who cannot be themselves fully because they are burnt. And so the wound keeps you from being fully you in the same way. And so desire to be fully you. As you start to let go of the resistance and the suffering and the anguish and the turmoil, start also to increase your desire. Oh, I desire to be free of this. I want to be free of this. This is costing me pain. This is costing me so much in life. This is costing me things I don't even know that it's costing me. And it's causing anguish, turmoil, suffering. I want to be free of this. I really do. I want to be free of this. Start to increase your desire. As you start to increase the releasing of the things around the wound, like the resistance and the suffering, start to increase your desire. Start to increase the desire to let this go. If you don't desire to let it go because you can't let it go, because letting it go feels to you to be validation of something that is unvalidatable to you, inappropriate. Start to change how you see this. I don't want this anymore because it is keeping me from me. It is keeping me in a prison. It is keeping me far away from me. It is robbing me. It is stealing me from me. And I don't want that anymore. Start to let go of the things that are keeping you attached to the wound. The wound itself is one thing, but all the attachments to the wound, the resistance, the suffering, the thoughts that your mind generates nonstop about this is costing you
start to say, I don't want that thought, and hand it to us. Hand it over to us. Give it to us. And we will free you if you let us. And we know that we have so much more to say, but we are aware that it is time to go. Namaste. Wow. 10 minutes.
Full swing. That was a good one.
Oh, that was a good one. It was so long. I don't know if we could say much, but it was.
I can capture the new word that I love, that if that particular listener, all listeners are hearing, is there's an element of surrender. Surrender your resistance that keeps you attached to the wound. And Noemi, thank you for being of service to us and channeling and delivering that. We're going to have to listen to that a repeat. But thank you, everyone, for sharing with us. Living Beyond the Wounds series.
Yes. And we'll be talking next Wednesday. You'll post that.
Yes, absolutely. We'll post it. Yes, next Wednesday, we're going to be interviewing Noemi Grace on Facebook. So join us for a live on my page, Lisa Berry, and we'll put out some invites and everything there. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. Thank you so much, Noemi.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Always feels so short at the end.
All right, everyone. Have a lovely
much love.